In this video, we're taking a look at GoCollect's hottest comics for the week of 3-18, and surprisingly, Modern and Copper are topping the list. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we're taking a look at GoCollect's hottest comics for the week of 3-18. Now, for those who don't know, GoCollect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on movement and eBay sales data. So it's always really fun to take a look at this article to see what the market has been speculating on. But before I get into the article, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you enjoy my content, love interacting with you guys, help support the channel, do one of those things, and I would really appreciate it. All right, with that being said, let's get into this week's article. And there's a lot of really interesting books that popped up this week. Like I mentioned in the start of the video, it's all Modern and Copper stuff. So really cool to see that as it gets steam. We always talk about the Copper boom and the Modern book boom and everything like that. So this is really interesting to see what the market has been speculating on. So let's dive right in and take a look at what are the 5 books. And here, as you can see from the title, hottest comic books 3-18, Rom, Ironheart, and Domino on the rise. Of course, this article is written by Matt Tuck. Highly suggest you guys go check it out. He's got great analysis. If you guys want to dive in further and read the article itself, I will put a link in the description. But like I always do with these articles, I like to start at the bottom and kind of work our way up and see like how the numbers have jumped up as we get going from book to book. So here we go. In the 5th spot, we have Leonardo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle #1, up 911 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is a result of all of the excitement built around the recent surge of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books. We have The Last Ronin. We all know that the TMNT Eastman and Laird #1. We know that TMNT Raphael #1. All of those books have been completely exploding as of late. And so, it makes sense that, or TMT Adventures is another one that I just thought of. All of those books have been exploding recently as of late. So, all TMNT books, as a result, when that happens in the market, these sort of tertiary books are always going to get pulled up as a result of that. And here we're seeing Leonardo #1. And as you can see here, it's a 1-issue micro series that featured Leonardo back. This was done in 1986, I believe. So this is a book that has been heating up recently, and I think people kind of see this as, hey, here's a one-shot with Leonardo, kind of a rare book from the 80s. This is something that I want to get my hands on, and for that reason, this has had a big jump in the market. So this one's kind of really cool to see. It's really interesting overall with the TMNT books, just why they've taken a sudden surge. I mean, we know that there's been so much excitement over the Last Ronin book, and maybe that's the sole reason that the comic community has jumped on these books. But it's not like there's been a movie property that was announced, that's coming out later this year or even on the horizon. It's not like the Michael Bay movies were even that popular. So this is something that is really interesting to me. It seems like it's something that's purely driven out of maybe nostalgia. The kids, like people who are my age, that grew up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and just love the brand and the IP overall. So it's really interesting to see that the TMNT books have just had as much heat, and not just heat, but they've actually lasted for the better part of a year now. It feels like these books have continued to remain hot. So very interesting. And I suppose that so long as The Last Ronin continues to run, which we just got issue #3, I think is coming out shortly. As long as that's going to continue to run, I suppose that the cultural awareness around TMNT, at least in the collector market, is going to be there for these books. So really interesting. At the 5 slot here, Leonardo #1. And as we dig into the numbers here, you'll see a 9.8 sold in March, $750. So very pushing that $1,000 mark. I feel like it's going to probably break that sometime soon. The 9.6, not so much, 140 here. And then at the bottom, you're not going to find this book in CGC, but definitely a book that I have seen heating up on eBay. I just quickly looked and to see what I could nab this book for, and I was seeing sales around $70, $80, things like that. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. The next book at #4 is a very cool one. This is Rom Space Knight #1, up 917 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of the character known as Rom, and this is one that even for myself, I've known of Rom, you know, I feel like, you know, if you guys are like me and you guys dig through bins and dollar bins all the time, you see these Rom books all of the time. And for me, I've never been a reader of his series. I don't really know too much even about the character, other than my assumption that he is basically a transformer of some kind. But why this book has been heating up recently is because, speaking of Transformers, Hasbro apparently has the creative rights to Rom, and they have announced that they are in development for a Rom film of some kind. Now, it's unclear if it's going to be a live action movie or if it's going to be an animated series, but for that reason, like all of these books, as soon as there's an announcement that there is going to be some kind of movie property or TV show or animated series about it, that's going to generate interest into the comic book market for those particular characters. So in this case, it's Rom's terms for that. So Rom is a really interesting character, and you know, I think it's always kind of an interesting fun fact about the character known as Rogue. For those who don't know, Rogue's second appearance, or her tied second appearance, does occur in one of the Rom comic books. I believe it's number 32. So Rom is an interesting series that maybe there's a lot of untapped potential for this character and the series in general. You know, I'm not someone who has read the series, so I don't necessarily know what the storylines and the characters who they are that belong to, you know, this particular run. But drop me a comment and let me know, do you guys think Rom is underrated? I mean, it's a book that continues to pop up, and I feel like people talk about it a lot, and here we are now having people wanting to jump on the #1 issue because it's one of the hottest trending books of this week. So really, really interesting. Let me know, Rom fans out there, what you know, give me the TLDR on the character. But, you know, as we dig into the numbers here, a 9.8 sold last month for $290, and then it kind of drops off as you get down here. But again, another book that I'm, you know, checked out on eBay and I'm seeing being sold for, you know, $50, $60, even $70 I see listing. So very, very interesting Rom #1. All right, let's move on now to the third book here. And the third book is also another interesting one. Talk about modern stuff here. Amazing Spider-Man 55, up 923 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the current Nick Spencer run of Spider-Man, number 55, but this cover was done by Patrick Gleason. And for those who don't know, Patrick Gleason is just a very, very popular artist who created this very kind of, I guess you would call it an instant classic cover, with having the outline of the Spider-Man head with the, you know, done in spider webs. And this went on to create, you know, second prints. I believe we're getting a third print. There's talk of other prints with other color variants. And this is, you know, kind of an interesting book as it relates to the current variant craze and buying comic books for covers. And for that reason, this is one that just really, really blew up recently. And I think we saw the high-end sales for this at the 9.8s being sold, you know, $300+. It's kind of cooled off recently. I think the latest sale was like $250. Matt Tuck does a great job in the article describing this thing, but so you guys can do further reading. But overall, this is a really interesting cover and kind of digs into a lot of topics with, you know, the variant cover issue and second printing and third printing and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that, you know, regardless of, you know, what you want to say about it, this cover alone is very, very beautiful. And I think that this is a particular cover that is going to be cover swiped for many, many years to come in the comic book industry. Anyways, let's jump into the numbers here. You can see the Go Collect hasn't even updated here, but you can see that there are tons of sales in March. So the first printing of this comic book has definitely been heating up. And maybe that's because we're starting to get the third printing and maybe talks of the fourth printing. So people have a renewed interest in the Amazing Spider-Man number 55. All right, let's go on now to the second book here. And the second book, another interesting one here, another modern book, Invincible Iron Man #1, up 925 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first time that you see Riri Williams in full costume on the cover, and you see her name right there on the bottom. Riri Williams is Ironheart. So we all know that Ironheart was announced that it was going to have a Disney Plus show, and that kind of took the market by storm. Everyone was rushing to Invincible Iron Man #9. After that, everyone wanted to get their hands on the Riri Williams first appearance. And I think as a result of that, you know, what ends up happening when you have a rush to certain characters in certain books, their tertiary books are always going to get pulled up as a result. And now we're seeing that here. I mean, you know, just judging the cover alone, I mean, this is a beautiful Riri Williams Ironheart cover. I mean, if you want to own something that is, you know, very iconic, that kind of showcases the character in a cool way, I can totally understand why Invincible Iron Man #1 would be a great book to have. I mean, just look at the cover. It's totally dynamic. And, you know, for that very special reason, it has Riri Williams, her name on the cover. And that's something that I always sort of talk about whenever I do my key comic book spotlight videos. You know, if you guys want to check those out, go take a look in the description. But in the key comic book spotlight videos, I always talk about, you know, if you're a fan of a certain character and you want to own a special book that relates to that character, why wouldn't you want to get, you know, the first time you see their name in the title of a series? Granted, this is Invincible Iron Man. It's not like Riri Williams Ironheart in the title, but the fact that it has her name right there on the bottom kind of makes this book really special, at least in my eye. And as we dig into the numbers here, you can see 9.8 selling in March for the $130 mark. So, you know, right around that number that I feel like is appropriate for books that are, you know, of the $20, $30, $40 value of a raw, but like kind of, you know, when you get those 9.8 slab copies, they're going to push that $120, $130 mark. So Invincible Iron Man #1 is the #2 book of this week. And the last book here is a very interesting one. This is X-Force #11, up 928 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this one is actually apparently the first appearance of the true Domino. Now, wait a minute. I know what you guys are thinking. Isn't New Mutants 98 the actual first appearance of Domino, or was it even New Mutants 97? You know, everyone thought that they already had Domino's first appearance in that book, but apparently, and you know, I myself am not an owner of those books, so I you know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but apparently those books actually had a fake Domino, a shapeshifter playing this character Domino. So for those who don't know, I likened it to Enchantress actually has a book, I think it is Avengers #86 or something like that. You guys can correct me in the comments. But Enchantress had a first appearance of a character known as Valkyrie, which, you know, we all know Valkyrie is the character we see in Thor Ragnarok. And so she made her first Valkyrie appearance, but it was a character, you know, it was Enchantress that was actually, you know, in the clone of this. So similarly, with Domino's first appearance, she actually had a clone that played her, and her actual first appearance of the actual first character is X-Force #11. So kind of a really interesting thing here that, you know, this book, maybe for a while, people were kind of sleeping on that and thinking that they already had the first appearance of Domino. And then when this, you know, that story gets brought to the forefront and people start to realize, wait a minute, this is X-Force 11 is actually the first appearance of the real Domino. You know, I think that this book has taken a surge for that reason. But as Matt points out in the article, it's really interesting too that there has been discussion of, is Domino going to show up in the Deadpool 3 movie in the MCU? And as of right now, I believe the actress said that it's very unclear. So even though people don't see, you know, even though there's a strong possibility that we're not going to get Domino in the MCU, this book still has heated up and people still want to go after it. So very interesting for that reason. Let me know in the comments if you guys think that this should be coined the true first full appearance of Domino. But as you can see here, even GoCollect says that this is the second appearance of the real Domino. But I believe that I would argue with that. I think this is a Cameo first full situation. But anyways, you guys let me know what you think. Here we go. And let's take a look at the 9.8 here. 9.8 selling in March for $100. And of course, because it's a modern book, you're not going to see too many CGC numbers here. But again, this is one that I've been seeing kind of ping-ponging on eBay. Like, you know, the prices are all over the place right now as I looked into it. But definitely a 9.8 is going to run you at least, you know, $100. So very interesting book, and that is the hottest comic of the week for 3-18. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Let me know what you guys think. I think a really interesting list this week. A lot of copper stuff, a lot of modern stuff. I wonder if that's a sign of things to come. You know, we always talk about the copper age, you know, starting to finally catch up and have some of the values of those books are actually becoming, you know, respectable, I suppose. But anyways, let me know if you guys have any of these books. Let me know if you've been chasing any of these books. I asked a lot of questions. Drop me a comment. Help educate me on these things. Leave a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying my content, and I will see you in the next video.